Dun, 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 dun. Wait a minute. Wait. Dun, dun. Holy crap. Alright guys, well, she's up off the ground. I mean, it really wasn't too bad to do it. You just kind of have to methodically move around the car and position the jack, slowly lift it up. I'll tell you, it'd be a hell of a lot easier if I did have a lift in here, but you know what? We're going to get this done the shade tree mechanic way. Luckily, I have a garage, so thumbs up for that. Basically, now where we're at is I'm going to start pulling the exhaust off, meaning like the X pipe back. Good news about the exhaust, I had mentioned in a previous video that I was concerned, I'd have to weld a bung on. I actually don't have to do that. I still have the rear O2s. I completely forgot about that, but I can actually remove one of those rear O2s and will be the driver's side most likely, because that's usually the leaner bank. I'm going to stab the wideband O2 in there for tuning purposes, and then I can very easily put the original one back in. So that actually is a great thing. But I'm going to get the exhaust off. We're going to pull the trans tunnel cover for like around the drive shaft off. We'll get the drive shaft out, and we're going to start pulling and unclipping all the different sensors. And we're going to try to get this thing out today, guys. But first, I got to take a little bit of break. I'm starving. I didn't eat any breakfast, and my wife's been texting me nonstop. So duty calls. All right, I'll catch you in a few. Thanks. Here we go, guys. The exhaust cooks is out. Actually, it worked out very nicely. All I had to do was just loosen the back. So basically back here, I loosened these clamps up, and then I slid them onto the mufflers, pulled the grommets off of the exhaust there, and then did the same up here in the front, and took off the front clamps, and exhaust is, as you can see, very out of the car. So all I did was I had to move one of the jack stands to allow the car to, allow the exhaust to get out freely. So I'm going to put the jack stand underneath, but I don't know if you can see it too well, probably because I don't have the light under there, but exhaust is very gone under there now. So we are going to, let me see, sorry, got my hands all in the way here. We're going to get down to business. I'm going to take a 5-second break, grab some water. It's actually better in here today, but it's actually warmer in the garage than it is outside. It's at like mid-low 70s outside, and in here it's probably still in the 80s, but I got the fan going. That's probably why you hear some like weird noises in the background, like popping, but let's get down to business. Start busting this transmission loose. I'm going to slide under there. I'll give you a little bit of video, like a before shot, plus it'll be good for me to have that as well when I'm putting the thing back together. So let's get down to business. All right, guys, so we are kind of squashed here underneath the car, but I'm going to go through here real quick and show you some of the things that need to come out. Obviously, and I apologize for all the noise here, but this is the driver's side O2 sensor, rear O2 sensor cable. That'll have to be popped out because the cable runs up and over the transmission, so we'll have to be careful with that. We're going to take the shift linkage off while we're at it. We're going to pull that cooler line off right there, and then we'll start banging loose the bolts on here. But we're going to try, you can see like everywhere where there's like a clip or something like that, we got to make sure that that gets pulled loose so that we don't end up tearing that off. But then eventually what we'll do is pull the transmission bolts, the transmission cross-member bolts out, and let the transmission drop on the jack a little bit to get the top bolts, because they're a little bit difficult to break loose. Now I'm going to just kind of sneak over here and see how horrific the engine, the starter's going to be to break loose. But actually, shit. That's going to be easy, man. Actually, that's going to be very easy, and I think I almost just blinded myself. Ugh. But let's see. Okay, so you can see there's the heat shield, and this is hard for you guys to really see what's going on there, but there's a cover there that I'll take off once I pull some of the bolts loose, but I got to get the starter out, and I think what I'm going to do is pull the starter, and then I got to pull that off there to get this cable loose, but that'll at least let me get it out of the way, and then I'll have to move the cooler lines. But before I do that, I just realized that I got to get the damn drive shaft out. So while we're doing that, what I'm going to end up doing is let's get this off of there. This is the trans tone, kind of covers up the drive shaft so that the exhaust doesn't wreck it. So what I'm going to do is let's get that out of there. I'll have to take the tunnel brace out as well. But let's just start knocking things out, and I'll kind of update you as I go along. Because this is, this is a little difficult to view in here, but it should be pretty easy to get this starter out. I'm actually very happy now. Makes me a lot happier. This won't be too bad. And then I think what I'll do is I'll just kind of angle it back and get it kind of sitting out of the way a little bit, kind of tuck it up and cable it back a little bit. But I'm not too worried about that being in the way now. I may take off some of the sensor lines and stuff, but for now I think I'm okay. That's gonna be, that one right there is gonna be a little bit difficult to get to, but we'll make it work. Because I really don't want to take this header off. It's gonna make me sad if I gotta take that off, although I should be able to actually get it out pretty easily. That means I gotta take the starter. I'm sorry, I gotta take all the spark plugs out to do it, and then I gotta take out the dipstick tube out of the engine. That's interesting. Let me see, that's closed off there. So, well, it looks pretty clean under here, though, all things considered, so I'm pretty happy. So, all right, let's shut up and get down to business, guys. This is going to be a lot of work. All right, YouTubers, how you doing? Good morning. This is day 2. Saturday was one of those days where I got got the car up off the ground. You can see she's up off the ground, but I just didn't get it finished, what I was working on. So it's going to take me a little while today. I'm going to have to take the header out I probably won't take it out, but what I'll do is loosen it to the point where I can get it so it's kind of pushed off to the side. Main reason for doing that is just when you actually physically look up under the trans, it will not physically fit between the headers. So unfortunately, that's what I'm going to have to do. It's not the end of the world. I'm just going to have to loosen off to get another gasket, but I'm going to have to prop myself up here because I'm not lowering this car back down to do that. So I'm going to work on that now, and we'll just keep plugging along. I'm going to drink a little bit of coffee, too, because, goddamn, it's early. It's like 6, something like that, and I am tired. I'm a little puffy, too. All right, guys, how you doing? I'm back here. I started loosening everything up, and the header's going to have to come out. Just by loosening it up and trying to rock it. I could potentially lift it upward so that I have less things to take out, but let me spin it around. Hold on one second. Okay, so you can see down in here, it's not the easiest to see down there, but I'm gonna have to pull the dipstick again. That's gonna take me about 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and dipstick out, excuse me. All right, so the dipstick's out, yay for me. Let me get this, hold on one second. I just gotta put this down where there's there we go. That's good. Yeah, dipstick's out. And now what I'm gonna do is loosen the rest of the bolts and drop the header out down through the bottom. Luckily, it's the passenger side because the driver's side is a B1/2. But what this will let me do is get at the starter. It's gonna let me do a lot of things that will make my life easier. So just do it. Don't try to screw around and not take the header off. If you're lucky enough to have a garage like I do to work in, this is gonna take me a few days to do it. Excuse me, because I'm not going to just plow through this, nonstop. I've got some family stuff to do today, which I'm excited about. I'm taking my little kids out. So I'm gonna get the header out now, then I'm gonna go get cleaned up. We're gonna head out, do some fun family stuff. I'll come back to this later on tonight, all right? Keep watching. Okay, so here we go. The header is now out. Don't be an idiot like me and forget to take the O2 sensor out when you're trying to lower your header out. I hope I didn't F up the sensor, but we'll be able to figure that out pretty quickly. One thing to note, which will help you, is if you go down there, and I don't know how well we can zoom in on that, but you'll see that stud? It has the trans lines, that pink strip there. Take that nut off. It's a 13 millimeter. It's going to allow you to slide the trans cooler lines over enough to, let me see if I can do get my hand in there. So sorry guys, light's really bad. Lost it. There it is. That guy right there. It's this one. Okay, it's a 13 millimeter nut. Take that off. It'll allow you to really slide the transcooler lines over and out of the way. But now I'm basically just gonna go and pull the starter out, get that out of the way, kind of sling it over to the side and hold it with a jack. And then it's really at that point, it's basically now start tearing down and getting that trans out. The trans lines are disconnected, the header's out, much to my chagrin. It's sitting right there on the floor looking sad. But she's out, the O2 sensor's out, it's just chilling out there. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully I didn't wreck it. But now it's gonna be on to just, let's start knocking things out on the transmission. Nobody's awake right now in my house as far as I can tell. That's a lie, I see the shade up, so I'm probably gonna have to go in. But it's probably a good point to stop at this juncture, so I'm just gonna kind of we'll just pause it for right now, and I'll come back. You won't notice any difference when you're watching this video, but stay tuned. We're gonna get this thing out soon, guys. I promise you. Hey YouTubers, how you doing? This is Dave. It's Monday, actually it's Tuesday after Labor Day, and I'm just stopping at the dealership here to pick up my transmission fluid. I'm just going with the original stuff in here just to make sure that I am using what's already in the transmission. It's just Dextron 6, so it's nothing crazy, but it is hot today. So we're gonna get in the garage, try to get this knocked out. I'm gonna fill the torque converter up and let that sit because it probably won't go on till later today or tomorrow. But I'm gonna try to get the transmission out today, all right? All right, guys, I don't know how well you can see down in here, but when I got here, I have the converter set up, and we have some AC Delco transmission fluid. I apologize if the view isn't all that good. It's a little blurry, but this is just standard transmission fluid. I have and you can see, I'm going to try to lean you in a little bit so you can see in here a little better, but you know, I've got this giant tripod, so it's going to make it a little difficult. You can't see down in there too well, but you know, you can see the splines inside the transmission. I'm gonna fill this bad boy up and spin it a bit to try to get some of the fluid moved around in there. What that's gonna do is kind of prep this thing. Apologize for it bouncing around here. Let's get it reset back up. And this is just kind of just letting it soak in and get ready for the install. So now I'm gonna put 2 quarts in just to kind of get us started, and then you'll see what I'm gonna end up doing when I'm spinning it. But this will get the converter filled. And it fills pretty quickly. So, you know, at this point right now, it's actually filled up pretty well. But I'm gonna spin her around a little bit and see how well it goes down. What's interesting is, I don't know if this thing was pre-filled or what, but I'm gonna let this guy soak in a little bit, because I did see fluid inside of this, but it's starting to go down. So, let me just put this back on there so I don't launch the thing. It appears this guy was definitely tested. I'm gonna get I'll tell you what, man, Harbor Freight got great stuff at their facility, man. I got a new one opened up in Lumberton, so I like it, yeah, very much. There you go. I don't know if you guys, I doubt you could have heard that, but it was there it is. I'm getting inside the converter bubbling. Boop, boop, boop. There you go. Plenty of bubbling. All right, gonna take this off, keep doing it. Just don't want it spilling all over the place, so I'm gonna take my time with it. Everybody has their own method, but that's really the gist of it. I'm sorry if I had some eclipse action there, if my big fat dome was getting in the way. But, yeah, that's the gist of it. And let's get back underneath the car and keep cracking. All right, guys, so the starter is out. First thing you're going to want to do is, and this is just so for clarity, you can see these two and this one, this is your heat shield. These are 8 millimeter. You're going to want to pull these off, obviously, before the starter gets out, or else you're not going to be able to get to the battery cable and this part right here, which is the signal wire. best way to deal with that is to take these off, take this off, put the nut back on so you know what the hell you're doing. Also, the bracket that's holding the cabling there, and I'll go over and take a look at that. I'll show that to you. You're going to want to pull that off as well on both spots. Then after that, pull the 2 bolts out of the starter. And what you're going to have to do is when you're under there, it'll be sitting like this towards the front of the car. You're going to want to take it and start pushing it to this side towards like the frame rail to get it out. And then once you do that, it'll drop down. You'll be able to access this piece in the back there to get the signal wire off. So that'll pull that off. And let me go take it. I'll show you what I'm talking about over here. You can kind of see it from up here, the wiring. But the easier way to do it is to get under the car, and I'll show you. Give me a second here. Ugh. Sorry, getting old. Okay. So this is a disaster under here now that, let me get this thing, oh no, there we go, okay. So this bracket is mounted here in this spot, and it's actually slipped over top of the, well, you can't see it here, but it's actually slid over top of the bracket that's actually on the starter to kind of keep it in place. There's like this large bracket that I showed you before. The top of it slides over that, and then the bolt for the heat shield goes through that and kind of secures everything in place. This is the signal wire. It's what, you know, ignition wire. I'm sorry, it's not focusing very well because of the weird lighting down here. But I also removed the oil pan level sensor as well, just because it makes it easier to kind of move everything out of the way. So now I can finagle the transmission cooler lines out of the way, so I can drop this down and get it around it. But this lets everything kind of float freely, which is nice. And then I just got to basically put it back together in reverse order. But like I said, when you have the starter right here, you're going to want to take it and move it towards the frame rail that way, and then you'll be able to get this wire off the back. All right, moving on. We're going to rotate the flex plate now and start pulling the flex plate bolts out. Okay, so here we go. Bolts are out of the converter. The converter is rotating freely now. They're back on the floor. I got to see, because I potentially may be able to put 6 bolts in this converter. It does have provisions for that much for the ZL1. One thing I highly recommend you get one of these guys here off of eBay or some other vendor. It holds your flex plate, makes it a hell of a lot easier, turns it into a one-person job. You'll need a 24mm socket to rotate the flywheel. I'm sorry, the balancer bolt, so that you can rotate the engine around. And then you'll use one of these guys here, and it comes with hardware, and it grabs against your converter. I'm sorry, against your flex plate, the teeth in there. Very easy to put in, and that'll just hold it steady so you can break them loose. It does take a little bit of effort to get them loose, but once you got them, you can kind of actually get them to come out with your hands towards the end. But she's loose. Now I have like 4 of the 8 bolts out of the transmission bell housing, so I'm going to get back under there. What I'm going to actually do now is get the jack right there. I'm going to get that guy and get it up underneath the transmission, hold it in place, because I want to make sure that the transmission is properly supported. Because what's going to happen now is, in order to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to end up pulling down the crossmember, getting all that out of there, get it out of the way, and holding the transmission stable, because now I got to get the damn drive shaft out. And just the way that it is, you can't do it with the crossmember there. So you have to get it out of the way. So, oh boy. Looks like there's more parts out. Wait a minute, that's the crossmember. Wait a minute. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus! We're good. We're good. She's out. There's a big-ass empty spot in there, folks. Ugh. Let me get under here a little bit more so you guys can see. But so this drapes over the transmission. It locks into the side of the transmission in a couple spots. It holds the O2 sensors. Routes it over top of the transmission. I'm debating on whether or not I want to go and get the flex plate overnighted for a ZL1 converter. So, but I mean, it'll hold. I've held more power with 3 bolts, so I'm not really that worried. But I'll decide that in a little bit. For now, I think, let me just kill this light so you're not blinded. Ugh, we'll get up here. Woohoo! Ugh. All right, guys. So there it is. Whew. Transmission is out. The pain in the ass part of this is going to be that I'm going to have to do that converter under the car because I can't get the car up high enough, nor am I going to bother trying. I could buy a jack to lift this thing up higher. Not going to do that. I'm trying to keep this thing under control price-wise, but here's the ZL1 converter right here, and you can see she is still taking fluid. So I'm already into it for almost 2 full quarts. That's usually what you got to put in it. So I'll finish off this last quart, and that should be enough. But, oh, yes, ZL1, baby. So we are almost there, folks. We will have this. I'll have the converter swapped. I'll probably come back out here tonight. Once my wife gets home, she's going to be working super late, so I'll probably swap the converter out tonight, or I may just, maybe I'll just wait till tomorrow and hit it again. But I wanted to show you guys one of the things you need a large extension. Check out that Redneck Engineering right there. So here's my extension to get the top bolts. Pretty amazing, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get this done, but it worked real nice. It is pretty big. It's probably close to 3 feet long. You need about 36 inches of extension there to get there, but look at how much that wobbles. It's fantastic. Got the job done though, didn't it? So I'll just leave my special on there. And by the way, I love that freaking tool. That Harbor Freight $100 purchase, best purchase I've ever made thus far. So, all right, guys. I think that is it for the converter swap video. Next thing you'll see is me putting the converter back in. All right, guys, hang in there. Thank you to all the new viewers. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for more insanity. You got to build it. Don't buy it. Take it easy. Have a great night.